Services, DHS. I would say around 2018, when some mothers and aunts and family members reached out to me, complaining that they were not getting anywhere. YouTube is buffering. Oh, Alexandra is here. Bougie Diva, you said good morning. Is there anyone else? There we go. Okay, Beatrice is there. All right, so we're still cool. People are there. She says YouTube is buffering, but at least you could find me, right? Good morning, Marguerite. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. YouTube seems to be moving along just fine. If I need to start all over again, let me know. But I think we're okay for right now. People are talking to me here. All right, so began paying attention to the Department of Human Services some years ago, I would say around 2018, when some family members reached out and said they had reached out to other hosts on the radio station who would not talk to them about what was going on at DHS because they said they didn't want to touch it and they were concerned about blah, 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 blah. Not sure what the concern was. But anyway, they found me and I said to them, give me all the information that you have. And so they brought to the radio station piles and piles of things for me to read, and I began reading the stories and decided that I was going to interview them. As I was interviewing them, the stories were so horrific, and I do mean horrific, that against my better judgment, while on the air, I began to cry. And Sarita Martin called me and she said, breathe. Josh Duncan was the programming manager at the time. And I decided that I was going to continue to follow what was going on at DHS because I was the only one. And quite frankly, I still don't see very many people covering the Department of Human Services in Philadelphia. Because I was the only one covering it with temerity, people who worked at the Department of Human Services began calling me quietly. Social workers, um, folks who worked with the children, and send me pictures they would send me pictures of children laying under desks in conference rooms, fast asleep. They would give me information about what was going on with the children themselves, that the families weren't getting heard, that they would take them to court, and they would try to choose judges that would fall on the side of DHS, and the families would then complain about certain judges in DHS, that when they would go before them, the judges wouldn't listen to them. They would just believe everything DHS said to them. And I just decided that I wasn't going to let it go. And then Councilman David O had an event down in front of the DHS and the family court. And I went down there and met some of the families and had good conversations with them about exactly what was going on. And something is afoot, y'all. Something is completely amiss. The first person in leadership other than David O. And if there are other people that's there, then let me know. That I saw talking about this openly, and I could have missed anyone else. So I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anyone. Good morning to Mara. Good morning, Nakia. Good morning, Laverne. Good morning to. I just wanted to bring this to you. So Keisha Hudson Brooks, who is the leader of the Philly Defenders Association, she wrote 10 hours ago. The Philly Defenders will be issuing a formal press statement on this. An article was written about them, and I'm going to read the article to you. She said, but for now, let me say, as a 23-year public defender, these institutions continue to fail our children. If we do not take measures to ensure our children are not detained and placed, these headlines will just continue and we lose generations of Black and Brown children, impacting their families and their communities. We represent these children. We hear their stories. We fight in court and ask that they not be detained, that they not be placed. We will continue to fight for justice for our youth clients and demand transparency and accountability from institutions responsible for their care. And this budget season, we hope to see robust investments in changing the womb to prison and school to prison pipelines. She's a Jamaican. And so, good morning, Jasenia. I reached out to her. I guarantee you I'll be talking to her, if not this week, next week, right? Because it's a conversation we need to have. Um, the folks at DHS in Philadelphia have consistently said, the social workers that call me and share with me what's going on there, under the condition of anonymity, of course. So I'm not going to say who they are or where they call me from. I've actually met with a couple of them that have asked for me to come and sit with them so we can talk. They say leadership and I believe her name is Kimberly Ali, and before her was somebody else, were just tone deaf. They're talking about the things that are happening on their level, and they're not really hearing and listening to the families. I have interviewed folks. One woman who was a nurse who said that her nephew was one of her family members was taken away and placed, and she went to DHS and said, "I need to. I am a nurse. I have good living conditions. I want to be able to take my nephew." And I've heard these stories over and again. And what continues to happen is they're denied, and then the children disappear. And when I say disappear, they can't find the children anywhere. They send them to places like all the way up in Lancaster County. They send them out of state. They send them, and so there has been an allegation, and let me say this is an allegation, that a lot of these children end up in places where they're not supposed to be, that they're part of the sex market. And again, these are allegations. And I keep hearing this over and over again. And it's mostly children that look like us, right? The families are in tears, and the families years later, the first time I heard about this was in 2018. Years later, the families are continuing to deal with the travesty of what's happening with them. Councilman O took them on after his son fractured an arm in a karate class, and they came to investigate him and put him under so much stress. He began to be concerned, and here he was a city leader. So imagine the families that are going through. Yes, there are instances where children need to be placed. Yes, there are instances where children are in dangerous situations in their homes, but they're always most likely a family member who is there who will be willing to take the child or the children. DHS AC Trade 37 says DHS is a big money business. Something is definitely going on. Bobby, pray on, my brother, because I'm telling you, I've been following the weather 7 years now, and it has not gotten any better. So let me read for you what was being said here. State says the Philadelphia Department of Human Services spied on its investigation into abuse at Child Detention Center and downgrades the agency license. It was written by Samantha Melamed Ellie Russian from the Philadelphia Inquirer. State regulators have revoked and downgraded the license of Philadelphia's Department of Human Services, accusing the agency of accessing a confidential child abuse database to spy on its investigation into allegations of child abuse at the city's juvenile detention center. Now, remember, we've been talking about this for a long time, about the way the children were treated when they were detained, that there were no places for them to put the children in some cases. The conditions where they're being detained are inhumane. And DHS I'm not sure how City Council has not been able to get them in front of them to hold them accountable. There's a photo stock picture of Kimberly Ali from 2019. I don't know if she's had conversations with them since then. I've not had the time this morning to go more deeply into it, but I am going to delve a little deeper because something is terribly wrong here. The Pennsylvania Department of Human Services placed the city DHS on a provisional license just a month after it similarly downgraded the license of the Philadelphia Juvenile Justice Services Center, the main detention center that houses about 150 young people awaiting trial or transfer to a secure state facility. Kimberly A. Alley is the commissioner of the Philadelphia Department of Human Services. She testified in council in 2019 in a file photograph. So I don't know when is the last time they talked to her. The action followed a riot during a boxing event there earlier this year that left several children injured, officials say. The state said the city failed to provide records necessary for its investigation. State officials in licensing documents published this week said unauthorized staff at the Philadelphia Department of Human Services accessed confidential child welfare records, and attempted to use the information system to peer into the department's investigation of the county operated juvenile detention facility. In a statement, City Solicitor Renee Garcia said officials are confident that the Philadelphia Department of Human Services did not violate any state or regulation. Garcia said the city intends to appeal the state's decision to issue a provisional license. The basis for the state's action has nothing to do with the care of children. The care and safety of children has always been and will remain our utmost priority, she said. The city is fully cooperating with the state's investigation and has timely produced over 20,000 pages of records in response, Garcia said. A spokesperson for the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services made clear that the state agency does view the breach as pertinent to child welfare. When an agency fails to meet standards of care or breaks protocol, the department may take action to hold the agency accountable and establish plans of correction, as it did in this case, the spokesperson said in an email. The licensing report alleged that the city improperly accessed the Child Welfare Information Solutions portal, which contains detailed and highly protected data on child welfare histories for children across Pennsylvania. Kathleen Palm, founder of the Center for Children's Justice, said the allegation of misusing access to child welfare databases raised serious concerns, not only because it could expose children's confidential information, but also because it could out the whistleblowers. She noted that the child welfare information breaches have resulted in criminal prosecutions in other counties. What's curious to me, she said, is whether or not they have turned this over as a legal matter to law enforcement. This isn't just a licensing issue. City Council member Jamie Gaudier said in a statement that she was extremely disturbed and disappointed by the city's course of action. She said she has been working with the city for years to improve the conditions inside the facility. This is a major step backward, she said. Along with the license downgrade, Michael Scott, the executive director of the detention center, was detailed to a new job in the city's public city office, according to Associate Deputy Mayor Jessica Shapiro. She declined to answer questions about the reason for Scott's reassignment or whether a search for a replacement is underway. Scott is now working with the Philadelphia Office of Safe Neighborhoods Communities Crisis Intervention Program, the city said. He has also retained his $133,555 salary. Attempts to reach Scott were unsuccessful on Wednesday. His city issued cell phone was not connected, and his email returned to an out of office message. Scott's JJSC post currently is vacant. A DHS deputy commissioner oversees operation at the West Philadelphia facilities. The city has denied many of the state's regulators' findings on the January riots. The state in turn accused Philadelphia DHS of withholding critical information, including several camera angles showing videos of the incident, documentation of its response, and sections of its policy manual. An inquiry investigation published in January found widespread violence within the facility, including assaults instigated by staff members who then rewarded the assailants with cheesesteaks. Philadelphia Youth Ombudsman also published a report in January describing the frequent and illegal use of punitive isolation within the facility. Philadelphia DHS was last on provisional status in 2007 after a series of independent evaluations and reports by the inquirer showed the agency failed to protect the children in its care from abuse and neglect. Philadelphia's Child Welfare Agency is one of five across Pennsylvania operating under provisional licenses, and what administrators have acknowledged is a crisis fueled by staffing shortages. Margot Isman, policy director of the Youth Sentencing and Reentry Project, a nonprofit that provides legal assistance and advocacy to young people charged with crimes, said the situation highlights why abuses within Pennsylvania institutions have become so entrenched. The best way to keep children from getting harmed in chaotic and violent institutions is to keep them out of those institutions. And that's really what both state and city DHS should be focused on. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's discuss. Is there anyone sitting here listening to me this morning that have had contact with the Department of Human Services? There's a lot going on there, a lot. And I have talked to there are many reporters who will not touch this. For some reason, they're deathly afraid of the people at DHS. I'm not sure who has got them covered, who has made them feel invincible. But I'm telling you, this is a problem. And we also need to. There's an election coming up in what 5 days, and there's some judges on the ballot. I'm going to ask you to really, really pay attention to who is on the ballot. Research them, ask the questions, because we have judges sitting on the benches right now in Philadelphia that just should not be there. Just should not. They're collecting a paycheck. They're awful to the people that come in front of them, and they just don't care. Now, there are quite a few judges on the benches. I'm not talking about all of you. I am not. And if you know that you are doing a good job, then eat the meat and spit out the bones. But you know the ones that are sitting amongst you in those robes that are literally not paying attention, that are literally not taking in the best interest and care of the children. Let me read some of these comments that are here. Monica says, my daughter is a social worker with a company contracted with DHS. I had heard many stories and know that they favor kinship family placement if available because they have nowhere for them to go. And yet, families are still saying that they're not, they are asking to do the kinship, they're asking to do what needs to happen, make sure that their family members are safe. And if they have spoken up about the things that are going on at DHS, they are punished by the children not being placed with kinship within the family, and the children disappear literally, like they can't find the children, have not been able to talk to the children, just a lot going on there, right? So I need to. Can someone tell me, Jasenia? You said you worked for DHS for 25 years. She said I was. No, you didn't say you were. You didn't say you worked for DHS. She said I was a social worker for 25 years ago. Nothing has changed. So sad. So what, Jasenia, is going on? What is happening? Is it the shortage? Is it there's some folks who should not be social workers who don't care about the children? What is it? I have a cousin who adopted two young girls some years ago. And one day she called me. She says, I need you to come with me, come to my house and pay attention to the way this social worker is talking to my husband and I. She said, this has been going on for over a year. And I just, she described what she described was, I'm like, no, she's not talking to you that way. That can't make sense. So I show up. Whoo, baby. I showed up to the house. And when the woman walked in, she took a step back when she saw me. I sat there. I just gave her my name, didn't say anything else. And I watched her. And because I was watching her, she tempered herself. But I could tell that she was offended. And it was a sister, it was a black woman. I could tell that she was offended that she was in the house of someone who seemed to be able to take care of the children. It was a kind of like you think you're better than I am, and I'm going to make your life miserable kind of thing. So we have to ask, and really, it's not enough just to get a social worker license. You've got to talk to these people and see where they are. And when she left, my cousin said, I'd never seen her behave that well. I'd never seen her behave that well. And then she asked to be taken off the case. So we see all kinds of things because I was watching her. I was watching her. It was crazy. Jasenia says, Monica, you're absolutely right. It's cheaper to keep a child with a natural family. So why don't they? Why is it that so many families, the children are being taken away? Even when I've interviewed them, we can go back and look at the history of this. 2018, when I first started interviewing them, and you can see there was a whole. She said, I am a nurse. I have plenty of room. And DHS would not place the child, and she believed it was punitive. She believed it was punitive, and she still has not gotten her nephew, right? There's some one woman wrote that her child, the child that she'd been trying to get back, died in the system. But a lot of this stuff is not reported or it's covered up in certain ways. So how are we going to? How are we doing this? And why is it okay for these things to continue to happen to our children? They're not getting. Some schools are not being. The children are not being treated well. If the children are placed because they're going through trials and tribulations, then it's horrible. I remember talking to some children at a thing that I went to. I was commissioned to go to and have a discussion with them. And they say the conditions in their home is really bad, but they will not call DHS. They will not report it because they believe, listening to the children who are put in the system, that it would be worse for them. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So let's talk. Let's talk about what this is and how we can support the families who are consistently speaking up on behalf of these children. And then we get mad when we sit and see these children out in the streets and their eyes are vacant and they're killing each other for sport. Who does it serve? Who does it serve? I don't know. We're gonna have to talk this morning. Cherie Syfax texted me early this morning to say that she had to travel today, so she will not be on, but we'll have her next week. So this is the day where we're going to sit and talk about the things that matter. You have children. For those of you who have children that have come through the school system, you did not come through the school system and kept them out of the Department of Human Services by yourself. We've all had a village of some sort, friends you can call, people you can talk to that says, you know what, this child is getting on my last nerve. I need you to come on over here and talk to them. Where's that? Where's that village? Why are we allowing these things to happen? And sometimes when children are placed in the Department of Human Services, is because the person uh, that's not doing right by the children will not call the family members and say, I'm struggling. They won't call and say they're struggling until they find out that the child is in DHS somewhere. How are we doing this? Where are we? So let me cover some of the news that we have here. Oh Lord, Sharia will be back next week for those of us who are listening. Huh. Republican support for a voter ID bill fell apart before the full Pennsylvania House of Representatives could vote on it, just a week before the same bill passed out of the House committee, with all 12 Republicans voting in support alongside two Democrats. While I strongly support voter ID, it is clear that our caucus has specific concerns with the details of this bill, and we're coming back to try to work through those concerns, said House Republican leader Jesse Topper, Republican from Bedford, in a statement released by his office. Topper's office did not answer any questions about the caucus's specific concerns. Hmm. Y'all are walking around with stars on your licenses for real ID. Everything we say and do now is being tracked. If you have a passport, you're fine. If you have a passport, you can walk into a military base, a government office. If you have a passport, you can fly. But you know. Hmm. Israel targets Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar in hospital strike in Gaza, sources say. Israel has targeted Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar in a strike on a hospital in southern Gaza on Tuesday morning, according to a senior Israeli official and two sources familiar with the matter. He became the militants group de facto leader after the Israeli army killed his brother, Yahiwa Sinwar, last October. Tuesday's strike killed 28 Palestinians and injured more than 50, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, which does not differentiate between military and civilian casualties. The IDF, Israel Defense Forces, said it carried out a strike on the European hospital in Khan Yunis, targeting Hamas terrorists in a command and control center and underground infrastructure beneath the hospital. The IDF did not identify the target of the strike. Mm-mm-mm. Philadelphia police arrested a man who they say shot four people, including three teens, aboard a SEPTA bus over the weekend. Hakeem Bryant is facing several counts of attempted murder, among other charges. The shooting happened at North 33rd Street and West Girard Avenue around 6:15 p.m. on Saturday. This is crazy. Investigators say about 30 passengers were on the Route 15 bus when a man got into a fight with a group of teenagers and fired 9 shots in the directions of the teenagers. Those teens, a 14-year-old and two 16-year-olds, were struck by gunfire along with a 39-year-old woman. So we're just not even safe on the buses anymore. This is insane. And what are we doing about safety on SEPTA? Winetta says passport and pass card is the best way to go. I carry my card with my driver's license. So there's that. As the Trump administration halts about 2.7 billion in Harvard University funding, the school's president is absorbing some of the financial impact by taking a 25% pay cut, according to a university spokesperson. Harvard President Alan Garber's voluntary pay cut will take place during the 2026 fiscal year, which runs from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, a university spokesperson told CNN Wednesday. Garber's current salary hasn't been disclosed. In the past, Harvard presidents have earned an annual salary of up to $1 million, dollars, according to the Harvard Crimson. The Trump administration has effectively blacklisted Harvard University from getting federal funding as part of its ongoing battle over discrimination and ideology, the university said in court filings. Whew. Democrat John Ewan Jr. pulled off a historic upset in the race for mayor of Omaha, Nebraska on Tuesday, May 13th. Ewan, the Douglas County treasurer, defeated Republican incumbent Jean Stothert, who was campaigning for her fourth term as mayor, per Newsweek. Ewan has now made history as Omaha's first black mayor. Tonight, we embark on a new chapter, Ewan told supporters. Together, we will build an Omaha that offers an opportunity for the good life to everyone. During her concession speech, Stothert acknowledged the 12 years she has served as Omaha's mayor. Tonight, I'm very proud, grateful, and hopeful. Proud of 12 years of success. I'm grateful for your support, your friendship, and your trust. And I'm hopeful that the momentum we've created will continue, she said. Ewan's victory could be a positive sign for Democrats ahead of the November 2026 midterms. Nebraska typically leans Republican, but Omaha tends to be more mixed and considered a blue dot. The city hasn't elected a Democratic mayor since 2013. We went through Omaha, Nebraska. There are parts of it that looks like Kensington. We couldn't believe it. We just could not believe what we were seeing. I would encourage. A brother called me yesterday morning and said, as a direct result of watching us go across the country, the Brown Crayons and I go across the country, he has taken his children on a cross country tour this summer. And we talked a little bit about where he should stay. He said he was going to do a lot of black restaurants, etc. We didn't do that. We just stopped where we felt like stopping and met a bunch of people. But I'm hoping that we encourage more of you to get in your cars and drive across this country. Take your time. Take your time. Find cheap hotels to stay in overnight because you're really just sleeping in the bed to get up the next morning and go and explore the country some more. But you will see what I'm talking about. You will see the things that I've expressed. When we got out to last year, we went to Oregon. We went to Portland, Oregon. I was quite disappointed in what I found. The drug epidemic is so pervasive in this country right now. And we seem to think that it's just a Kensington thing. Yes, many of the people who are abusing using substances, illegal illicit substances, find their way across country to Kensington because they believe it's a safer place for them to sit and be. But all across the country, we went through Portland, Oregon. We came into Oregon from at the very tip of the state, so through Washington State. And then we drove all the way down to Portland. So we saw a majority of the state. And then we drove down into California so we drove from the tip of the north of Oregon down to the south of Oregon, where we saw the Redwood State National Park. And then we went right into California. And all throughout those little towns that we drove in, we saw people bent over. We saw I felt like I was driving through Kensington. Portland is in such a severe state of affairs, and San Francisco. Um, were in such sad state of affairs. Any hotel we went into, we had to have a key to get in, or they had to let us in. They had to look at us on the camera to let us in. It was the strangest thing to witness. But we are in an epidemic, in a crisis. According to those who are keeping the data from this, they said 30,000 less people died from the drug epidemic last year than they've had in past years. So they're intimating that things are getting better. But for the folks who are sitting in Kensington, in particular, with open wounds because they were using horse tranquilizers, things that were meant for animals, not for them, to get their high, the wounds are going straight down to their bones. Their limbs are being amputated, and so we have to try and figure out how to navigate through that. I don't know. I don't know, y'all. We're here. Trump announces plans to lift punishing sanctions on Syria. President Donald Trump announced Tuesday that he plans to lift sanctions on Syria following last year's fall of the Assad regime, saying the move will give them a chance at greatness. The removal of the sanctions is a significant win for the Syrian government led by Ahmed al-Sharar, who seized power after the stunning defeat of the Assad regime in December. It's likely to be seen as a blow by the Israeli government, which escalated military and territorial advancements in Syria in the wake of the Assad collapse. Trump said in remarks to a Saudi investment forum in Riyadh that he made the decision after discussing it with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, as well as with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Erdogan, I'm sorry, Syria. They have had their share of travesty, war, killing in many years, he says. That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade. Your president, this is what the president is saying. Dangerous flash flooding forced search and rescue operations in multiple states Tuesday, including boat rescues at a Maryland elementary school and a search for a 12-year-old boy swept away by floodwaters in Virginia. The boy was caught in rushing water around 5:30 p.m. Tuesday after a nearby creek had overtaken a roadway about 20 miles from Charlottesville, according to a 911 caller. Albemarle County Fire Public Information Officer Logan Boger told CNN in a statement the department identified the boy as Jordan Sims. Crews found the body believed to be the missing boy around 8:45 a.m. on Wednesday, the fire department confirmed. Please be very careful. There's been quite a bit of rain. Even the plants are looking waterlogged at this point. They've had more rain than they can stand. And if you are in a flood zone, be careful. Water and fire are exacting masters. You think you can walk through it, you think you can drive through it. That poor little boy. I remember many a times we had flooding on the island coming home from school, and strangers had to put us on their backs to get us across. Otherwise, we would have been swept away as children. So just be very careful, okay? Be careful. Philadelphia police are searching for three men who are working on gathering evidence to potentially put out more details about the suspects linked to the killing of Philadelphia rapper LGPQU. I keep wanting to say QUA. Members of the community are hurting from the loss of someone who they say used his life experiences to send a message of hope. In one of his lyrics, he rapped, "Everything murder. They make the killing the norm, but that ain't normal to me." The goal of a 30-year-old Kadir Johnson was music that presented a different message, known as LGBTQUA. The up and coming rapper out of Philadelphia fell victim to the violence he spoke out against. What we know so far from police is that three men approached QUA and a friend in Juniata Park around 4:45 p.m. on Sunday. Philadelphia police describes the scene as a robbery and say one of the offenders shot QUA in the chest. This was written by 6abc.com. Sean Diddy Combs. I have not been following this, so I just need to let you know. It's not just not a thing for me. I'm not interested. Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura began testifying in the case on Tuesday, revealing graphic details of alleged abuse and sex acts. Her testimony comes after jurors heard from a hotel security manager about the infamous video of Combs beating her in 2016. Testimony includes graphic and disturbing allegations about sexual and physical violence. Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges of sexually assaulting, trafficking, and exploiting women over multiple decades before he was arrested last September. This was written by CBSNews.com in Philadelphia. There were 30,000 fewer U.S. drug over deaths in 2024 than the year before, the largest one-year decline ever recorded. An estimated 80,000 people died from overdoses last year, according to Provisional Centers for Disease Control and Prevention data released Wednesday. That's down 27% from the 110,000 in 2023. The CDC has been collecting comparable data for 45 years. The previous largest one-year drop was 4% in 2018. So to what do they owe the 27% drop? What's happening here? All but two states saw declines last year, with Nevada and South Dakota experiencing small increases. Some of the biggest drops were in Ohio, West Virginia, and other states that have hard hit in the nation's decades-long overdose epidemic. This was written by NBCPhiladelphia.com. Democratic Rep. Sri Thanedar of Michigan backed down from his attempt to force a vote on impeaching President Donald Trump after it lacked support from his own party. The House was expected to vote Wednesday evening to table Thanedar's motion to impeach Mr. Trump for alleged high crimes and misdemeanors, which would have effectively killed it. Thanadar filed his 7 articles of impeachment against Mr. Trump in April, but moved Tuesday to bring it up as privileged, requiring the House to act on the motion within 2 legislative days. But Thandar, is it Thandar or Thandar? I'm going to say Thandar changed course by Wednesday afternoon after having conversations with his colleagues. Instead, I will add to my articles of impeachment and continue to rally the support of both Democrat and Republicans to defend the constitutions with me, he said, adding that he will continue to pursue all avenues to put this president on notice and hold him accountable for his many impeachable crimes. Speaking of the president, a coalition of 20 state Democratic attorney generals filed 2 federal lawsuits on Tuesdays, claiming that the Trump administration is threatening to withhold billions of dollars in transportation and disaster relief funds unless states agree to certain immigration enforcement actions. According to the complaints, both Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy have threatened to cut off funding to states that refuse to comply with President Donald Trump's immigration agenda. While no federal funding is currently being withheld, California Attorney General Rob Bonta said during a press conference on Tuesday that the threat was imminent. President Donald Trump can't use these funds as a bargaining chip as his way of ensuring states abide by his preferred policy. Is Bonita. So Bonta added. This was written by CBSNews.com. Whew. Some sweet news for Pennsylvania in all the bad news. It could be the first state to have an official candy. Pennsylvania lawmakers recently advanced a bill to make Hershey Kisses the state's official candy. The idea was first proposed a few years ago by students at Newtown Middle School in Bucks County. Those students are now seniors at Council Rock High School North. The iconic chocolate treat is made right here in Hershey, Pennsylvania, so it makes perfect sense. However, Hershey Kisses weren't the only state candy put in running. Peeps, which are produced in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, were also proposed by a state senator last month. A couple is accused of holding a girl. That was written by Fox 29, by the way. A couple is accused of holding a girl captive in their Gloucester Township, New Jersey home and abusing her for years before she finally escaped. The victim, now 18, told detectives that 38-year-old Brenda Spencer and 41-year-old Brandon Mosley had been abusing her since approximately 2018. Investigators say that around the time the victim, then in the 6th grade, was removed from the school and confined to her home. Shortly after that, she allegedly told police she was forced to live in a dog crate for approximately 1 year and was only let out periodically. The victim went on to say she was also forced to live in a padlocked bathroom while being chained up. Police say she would be let out of the bathroom when family visited the home. What the hell? What the hell? What is going on? I gotta read this. This is crazy. What is going on? It's a white woman and a black man. Oh, wow. She was also being sexually abused. So wait a minute. At other times, she told police she was held in a bare room with only a bucket, and the room had an alarm system that would alert Spencer and Mosley if she tried to leave. She also said she was being sexually abused by Mosley. The victim finally escaped on Thursday, May 8th, and was helped by a neighbor who spoke to Action News. She definitely had scars on her wrists from being chained up, he said. The neighbor, who didn't want to be identified, said he hadn't seen the girl in 11 years. So a young child goes inside a house. You don't see her coming in or going out. You don't see any of these things, and no one questioned it. She had her head shaved, she said, for punishment. Her mother would shave her head, he said. Police say search of the home found the child was living in squalid conditions alongside numerous dogs, chinchillas, and other animals. Detectives learned that a 13-year-old who also lived in the home was removed from the school earlier. Both girls are allegedly homeschooled, police said. Spencer and Mosley was arrested Sunday and charged with kidnapping, aggravated assault, criminal restraint, and weapons offenses. Mosley was also charged with multiple counts of sexual assault. Cheese and crackers. Cheese and ever loving crackers. This is horrible. Horrible. I think we've done enough news for today. What do you think? Hmm. Oh, all right. Monica says, I'm going back to DHS. As you know, DHS has been downgraded. Um, Monica says she has a daughter that works in the system. She said they're overwhelmed with staff shortages, little provisions, and no leadership. It's such a sad place to be. I know my daughter does her best with what she's dealt. We pray daily. Tell your daughter we say thank you and to continue to do her best in what is an untenable situation. I've seen so many social workers quit as a direct result of working in that system. But as you suggested, Monica, I think the leadership is what needs to all starts from the top. Joanne says, I have read that there are financial gains to place children in other care. I heard that too. Jasenia said, DHS completes a home study to determine if a family member is approved to the care of a child. They also have to complete the foster care. Now, Jasenia, I'm telling you what they're supposed to do versus what they've done. I have seen the actual paperwork. I have seen. So if the family is capable, why are they writing in their reports that the family is not? There's a lot of punitive things going on there, right? Monica says we have lost the village, the life. We've lost the village life mentality. It has been our downfall since we can't do this alone. That's the problem today with many families and children. Alexandra says at Jasenia, when my aunt passed away, DHS tried to take her grandchildren she had custody of. Her eldest daughter contacted political contacts, and her guardianship was expedited and took them because the mother, her sister, was dealing with drug addiction. I also have another family member who is a teacher in the Philadelphia school system, wanted custody of her nephew, and DHS was like, yeah, no. Like, really? There are people who, and I've been in her home, I have seen the conditions of her home. She is a stellar human being. And DHS told her no. So, and then the boy disappeared. So there's a lot going on here. I'm telling you. It's a lot. Monica says, neither am I. This is about Sean P. Diddy Combs. I really do, that's, we allow people with a certain amount of power to get away literally with murder. We do. And this has been going on for years and people turned a blind eye. R. Kelly, same thing, only to find out that R. Kelly was abused as a child, barely could read, all the things. When you fail a child, they become adults who are predators on other people. And so we keep saying this over and over again, but for some reason it just goes over the heads of people. Uh, Alexandra says, "Be glad you're not mother. You would have to pour bleach all over." So yeah, I'm not. I'm not adding that to my psyche. There's too many other things going on in the country and in our Commonwealth for me to sit and spend hours reading about Sean P. Diddy Combs and his proclivities in the bedroom. I can't do it. And I just feel like my space, my mental space has to be given to other things. I'm trying to help a sister right now who these housing just had all kinds of things going on and so yeah, no, we're not, no, I'm not uh Adams Alexandra says what I have followed so far has been reported in Roland Martin's Unfiltered. So peanut chews, yeah, I don't need a lot of candy. In fact, I don't like candy much, but Cadbury mixed chocolate candy with the nuts and the fruit candy, which is like $2. I will eat peanut chews every once in a while, right?
My
So
beautiful sent a long message.
hold on one second. I just got a message that I'm about to read. Beatrice said they kept her in a cage like a dog cage. Also, they gave her a bucket to go to the bath. It's terrible. Alexander says the woman is her mother and the man is her stepfather. My God. My God. Some people just should not be parents. This is too much. Monica says, I just can't. All of this sounds like stories from Sodom and Gomorrah. But we were, there is a woman, again, I have so many stories, that if adopted one, two children to the two that she gave birth to. And that woman today is running around, uh, well respected. I know her very well, and she treated those two stepchildren like dirt. They would not get the same food that her children got. She had them scrubbing the floorboards. That her children looked like they were well dressed going off to school. The other two children, she continually complained about them and treated them so horribly. Her husband divorced her and left. And I'm telling you, if you saw her today, many of you know who she is. Just walking around here like she's just the most beautiful thing on earth, and was cruel as a parent, as a step parent. Don't adopt or foster children if you know you're not going to take care of them. If you know you're just collecting the money so you can have more money to pay your bills, don't do it. Do not do it. Because even after you think everybody has moved on, people will remember. And those children are suffering today as adults. Suffering. See, I told you they weren't going to turn out to anything, but you gave everything to your own biological children and treated the ones that you adopted, that you fostered and adopted, horribly. They hate her today. So I need to tell y'all walking around here like looking at certain people and think they're all wonderful, then unkind. I keep telling y'all, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. I'm not saying we're going to get everything right all the time, and I'm not saying that we're not going to make mistakes, my God, because we all do. But why? Why take on in children who you know have already been traumatized and then treat them horribly? Makes no sense. Joanne says, when I worked in psych, it was so sad to hear the children who were being discharged and sent back to the facility they came from saying, I'm going home, yet to another facility. Wow. Jasenia says that intentional and personal not to move forward with opening her home to that child's children. It's people that listen. Laverne says people are evil and we're supposed to honor our parents. Laverne, I agree. Some people just should not be parents. Truthfully, they were damaged and traumatized. They gave birth to children, and then it's horrible. It's horrible. Marguerite says, I refuse to have my mind taunted with the smut of the Combe saga. I only hear news at work. No news is heard in my house unless I listen here. Uh, Shakila says, what's crazy is we as Black people took in our family all the time back in the day. And then we wonder why people don't trust the system, right? Yeah. As we didn't end up in systems because we would get a phone call. Uncle so and so needs you to come get their child for such and such and such. You are so right, Shakila. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And this ain't happening. Um, this was just sent to me. Here are some small things a man does differently when he loves you with his entire soul. Since we're in the love segment and she's not here. He really, number one, he really listens to you. Number two, he remembers the little details. Three, he protects your peace and safety. Four, he never makes you compete. Five, he supports your growth. Six, he speaks to you with respect. Seven, he shows up consistently. Eight, he makes you feel chosen every single day. Nine, he is not threatened by you. 10, he apologizes when he knows he's wrong. And 11, he makes you feel at home. I'm going to say women should do the same thing. Listen, treat them differently. Listen with your heart. Remember the little details. Protect his peace and safety. He never make him never compete with him. Support his growth, speak to him with respect, show up consistently, make him feel like he's chosen every single day, make him feel he's not threatened by you, and apologize when you know you're wrong, and make him feel at home. There's so much going on out here. Who, Lord, oh, wow. Wow. It's crazy out here. And I can always tell someone who has had a really rough childhood as an adult just by the way they respond to certain things and how they view things the way that they have, the way that they do. Laverne says, my grandmother did not, Shakila. She took in our friends and neighbors' children to keep them out of the system. Absolutely. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to all of you. And for those who consider ourselves mentors, there's a now 33-year-old that my husband and I have been I have been mentoring because I've been mentoring him since he was 11 before I met my husband, and he reaches out to us when he wants to talk about certain things, and we sit and we dialogue. This is how this works. This is not how this works, so that people are able to stay out of certain situations and to keep themselves out of trouble. It's 7:21 a.m. I am going to end this broadcast a little bit early. I have to work 12 hours today. Yeah, so I'm gonna go have breakfast and make sure that I'm doing what I'm doing. So if you see me out there in these Wakandan streets this morning, just turn and point me in the right direction. And someone, where is the best place to get a great salad? Because these salads are filled with all sorts of things, and they're just, by the time they finish adding all the junk to it, it's like 2,000 calories. Why is a salad 2,000 calories before you even add the dressing? I just want a simple salad with sesame seeds, with boiled eggs, with sliced onions, tomatoes, cucumbers, with maybe some chicken added to it. Can we do that? Why are salads so nasty and filled with stuff today? But okay, this is just me talking. Hard to stay healthy out here, because even when they put them in the fast food, but I'm not going to go to a fast food restaurant, but even when they put them there, a black man was on this morning, Rye Brew. Oh, let me write that down. What time did they open? Rye Brew, Rye Brew, and they're on Gerard Avenue. Thank you. Somebody's listening to me. Rye Brew. Man posted this morning, he said, we're blaming racism for, they also have a location. Thank you, my darling. Thank you. Said we're blaming racism for being overweight. He says, but he says, I see you all out here going to brunch with your sisters, and you have fried chicken wings, and you have this and you have that. And then, everything is around a meal. And he says that you can't outwork the food that you put in your stomach. And we can't blame racism for this, right? He says we spend a lot of time in fast foods. A black man. We spend a lot of time in fast foods, etc. And so, while folks are probably going to eat him alive for saying what he has said, we have gained an incredible amount of weight as citizens of this country. We've gained an incredible amount of weight, especially since 2020, and it's easy to it comes on incrementally, feels easy to put on, and so hard to take off. So every day we challenge ourselves. Every day we challenge ourselves to say, all right, how am I eating this differently? If I'm going to do this, how am I eating a little bit of it instead of the whole plate of it? Because I really want us to be healthier. I really do. And I was telling in the gym yesterday, I said, my stomach, I can't, I have done everything. Hey, menopause is the devil. I exercise, I eat right, and I still have that little paunch. And then I remembered I'm healthy. Then I remembered I'm healthy. Then I remembered that I can take a deep breath. And I was like, the little paunch can stay there. I'm fine. Still working out hard, and still choosing what I eat. But please, y'all, too many young people are being diagnosed with diabetes. You're in your 20s and diagnosed with diabetes. You're in your 30s and 40s and on oxygen, walking around with oxygen tanks. You're 45, 50, and you're dropping dead of heart attacks. You're 30. During the pandemic, a 27-year-old that I knew, that I mentored in Abington, just dropped dead of a heart attack. These things are happening. So it's stress, it's all the things that happen to us. And we're not, I'm not, trust me, I'm not shaming you, because I'm not a small woman myself, right? I am tall and I have some weight on me, but I'm asking us to please choose what we're going to put in our mouths, and make sure that we take very, very good care of ourselves, because once our bodies start to break down, we only have a finite amount of time to reverse that damage. And so I want us to be okay. I really want us to be okay. All right. All right, my darlings. I said I was getting off early, but it's now 7:25 and I'm still talking. Ain't that something? Alexandra says Laverne Cheeseburger, my grandmother did the same. She even watched the babies of the teenage mothers so they could go to school. She also did not charge them. A cousin's friend she taught to read. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Laverne says, I love the way my husband makes my salad. I make a good one, but his is better. Yes. Oh, so everybody is saying rye brew is good. Okay. 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 Then we'll figure it out. I'm going to try it today. Laverne says, get your gallbladder removed and try eating and, huh? Oh, she says, get your gallbladder removed and try eating the bad food. It runs through like water. Oh, she says, my nobody can no longer handle the bad food, not even cake. And I love cake. Wow. Beatrice, she says, please share the name of the restaurant where you can get the good salad. Rye Brew, Ryebrew. I'll write this while I'm writing. Rye Brew is the name of the restaurant. Ooh. I tell you, my ADHD is whew. Rye Brew is the name of the restaurant. Joanne says, I knew someone who fed her children KFC almost every day to the point where the oldest child, once grown, doesn't eat chicken. Wow. Alexandra says, Mova, you just reminded me I have a sweet potato to replace that vegan skillet at Breakfast Boutique. Okay. To replicate, I'm sorry, to replicate that vegan skillet at Breakfast Boutique. Hugs to all Bobbies. She said, I used to like, I can't stand salad work. Something there. So I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. And Nourish 177 on West Jabbar. You all are okay. See, you have not because you asked not. So I'm going to look at Nourish too, because I love a good salad. But my salad shouldn't be so filled with junk that it's 2,000 calories by the time I eat it. So it's Rye Brew and Nourish. Thank you all. Thank you, Angie. 65. I love you guys. This episode of Mornings with Mova is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you tomorrow morning when I see you. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye bye. All right, I'll end now over here. Goodbye.